Welcome to part 3 about using the Green Bouquet for a foam-based arrangement. So we're going to talk about some of those things. This is the Green Bouquet. It's part of Jay's Bouquet collection from our friends at Fern Trust. And it is a bouquet that is made out of beautiful foliage, all American grown foliage grown in Florida from Fern Trust. It includes variegated aspidistra, ruscus, variegated pittosporum, lilygrass, and Florida fern, otherwise known as leatherleaf, around the outside. And it comes in a beautiful bundle like that. Look at how pretty that foliage is. Again, they use a special treatment process on this called the Dewy Fresh system that makes sure that these are going to remain as long as possible and be long lasting. It makes sure that they're shiny. It makes sure that they're hydrated. It's a wonderful process that they use that makes their foliage last longer. And it's a patented process. So that's really important. In the first episode, we showed you the bouquet and how it comes and what it looks like. In the second episode, we showed you how to drop it simply into a vase and enjoy it by itself or add flowers. So in this one, I thought it would be fun for us to create a foam-based arrangement. And what we'll do is we'll create a foam-based foliage arrangement first, and then we'll add flowers to it as well. Okay, so it's a simple thing for us to do. So inside my basket, this is a wonderful little basket that I have here. Comes with a plastic liner. So there's a plastic liner down inside there that holds the foam. And notice I've dropped one block of soaked flower foam down into this basket. I've left plenty of room on both sides for water because I don't want to fill this completely with foam. If I fill it completely with foam, then I don't have a place to easily add water. And I'm going to want to check this on a daily basis and add water down inside this liner. That's going to be very important because my flowers are thirsty, my foliage is thirsty. I have soaked this foam in Chrysal Professional 3. So bottle's right back there. Okay, I've squirted it into the bucket. I float soaked this inside there. If you want to know how to float soak foam, go to ubloom.com, our Flowers 101 lessons. There are lessons there about how to soak foam. There's also a lesson on YouTube that you can check out too that is how to soak flower foam. It's extremely important because you don't push it down underwater, you let it float soak, and you have to do it right. It does not take 24 hours to soak like some people say. It goes very quickly and it's very easy to use. The reason that we use flower foam is that the flower foam itself allows us to make strategic placements so our flowers will stay exactly where we want them to go. The other great thing is that there have been advancements from the great people at Smithers Oasis who make this foam product. And what they're doing now is they're making foam that is biodegradable. And that's really exciting because when this was invented back in the 40s, we didn't know as much as we do today. And now we know more about that. And we're creating a biodegradable foam that is wonderful. The other thing about it is the strategic placements help us create things that need to have strategic placements. It's really difficult to make a long-lasting sympathy arrangement or wedding and event centerpiece or something that's going to sit in the sun for a period of time or something that needs to last for 3 or 4 days. Strategically placing those flowers into something that isn't flower foam. I know they're working on different alternatives all the time and there may be things coming down the pipe. Back in the Victorian days, what they did was they would fill the container with wet sand and then they would arrange the flowers in the wet sand. So it wasn't quite as stable because the more water you had in the container, the more the sand would shift around. And also the other thing about having the sand in there was they weren't really sure where that sand came from. And so it wasn't always the cleanest in the world. And sometimes there was a lot of bacteria in it. With soaking this flower foam in our floral nutrient, we've controlled the bacteria. We have food in there that's going to feed the flowers. We've controlled the pH. And we know that this is going to be ideal for our flowers. So super important. You can get flower foam in like single blocks, 3 blocks, 6 blocks at the craft store. You can also buy it from the professional florist. Professional florist too, if you're doing this, this is a great way for you to utilize a green bouquet to create a foliage base in here that you've controlled the cost of goods on. So I think that that's important as well. So just lots of things that lots of people can do with these. So my first step would be to bevel the edge of the foam. And I use a knife for this. I use my locking blade knife and I'm cutting off the corner of the foam. Really simple. Just going along and you know what? Cutting foam is really fun. It's super fun because it just feels good when you're doing that. When you're a little kid, you play in the foam a lot at a flower shop. Just trust me, I did that all the time. You want to stick your fingers in it and do all kinds of stuff or sculpt with it. So now we've got that beveled edge. And the reason we do that beveled edge is it creates a rounded surface. So it's easier for us to stick flowers in all along that rounded surface. That makes it easier. Whenever we're placing something into the foam, if we don't like where it goes, we need to remove our stem all the way out and go into a different hole. We don't want to run the risk of having there be an air pocket by using the same hole. Because what's going to happen is when we place our foam in there, it's going to go down into the foam. And when that stem slides down into the foam, it's going to create a sealed contact. And that's going to allow reverse osmosis to take place, which means that the flower, as it gets thirsty, will be able to draw the water out of the foam. Super easy. And that's why we have flower foam, because that's what we wanted. We wanted a reliable water source that would allow us to make strategic places that could make things last longer. And that's what flower foam does for us. So with this, we're going to make a foliage arrangement first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up because, again, I can't sit down and arrange flowers with you, but I'm going to stand up and we're going to make a foliage arrangement, and I will give you some tips about that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add flowers to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut, this is again our foliage arrangement. And again, the foliage that we have inside here, we have our variegated pittosporum, our variegated aspidistra, ruscus, lilygrass, and our floriferum. Okay, so I'm going to cut the rubber band around this. That releases all of these foliages and now allows me to work with them. And what we're going to do is we're going to start, many times you get taught to take your fern and create a collar around it. So I want to show you how that might be done. That's one of the first steps that I actually learned when I went to school in Colorado back in the 70s. And what you do is you take your knife and you would cut this and you would create a collar of foliage. Now notice how I'm cutting off these pieces of the foliage and they work really well to go around there. Now, I have not filled my container with water because I wanted to be able to tip it up and show you what I'm doing, okay? But typically I would fill that up with water, okay? But so I was able to do that. Now, many of you might get nervous about using a knife, so we're gonna go ahead and use a bypass cutter for the rest of this, all right? So again, I'm gonna take the tip of that and place it over here. We've got this. I'm going to remove pieces that might be broken off. And look at, I've got one piece and another piece. So now I have two pieces. And those two pieces can go in here. And you'll notice what I'm doing is I'm making a collar around the outside. It's actually going to take me 3 pieces of foam to get this completed. And again, one piece and one piece. And look at that. That's pretty incredible that I get 3 pieces of foliage out of 1 piece of fern. I think that that's pretty fun because, I mean, certainly I could, if I wanted to have it be bigger and more dynamic, I could have put a whole big piece of fern in there. But if I use 1, 2, 3 pieces, maybe even 4, I'd get out of that. That's really good value. So it's a good way to help you extend that. And now I have a collar that goes all the way around my foam. Okay, you'll see it goes all the way around. Very simple. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to separate my foliages now so I know what I have. So I've got my other leatherleaf here. I'm going to put my variegated aspidistra here. I've got my pittosporum here. I love pittosporum too, the variegated pittosporum, because it's fragrant. It smells really good. So we're going to place that together there. There's 3 pieces of that. I've got 3 pieces of ruscus, and then I've got my 5 pieces of lilygrass. Okay, we're going to use our lilygrass last. All right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to use my longer pieces of the variegated pittosporum. And you're going to notice I have 3 pieces on there. So rather than cutting it down here and using one big piece in there, I'm going to cut all 3 pieces off. And now I have 3 separate pieces that I can arrange with. That's pretty great, right? Again, I'm going to go tall with them. And what's great is when you're cutting off your foliage and you're cutting these branches, I want to cut them so that they have a point at the bottom. I want to cut them at an angle so that when we're using them in here, that angled cut is going to go into my foam easier. If I cut it flat, it's going to drag foam down inside. But if I have it sharp, it's going to pierce it. Okay? So I'm piercing it and placing it in here. Now, the other thing that I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm pushing it down into the foam so that I've got it going into the foam about that far. Because I want to get down to where the water level is inside here too. I think that that's going to be really important for me, because if I just put this a little ways, if I just put it down in there that far, it's not going to take up as much water. If I put it down there deeper, it's going to be better. Okay. So now you'll see I left a spot in the middle and I've got those on two sides. Okay. Like that. Now, sometimes you'll have pittosporum that has a shorter area like this, and see how those laterals aren't nearly as long. I could take those off individually if I wanted to, but what I can do is I can use that as one big piece, and I can cut it, and I can use that in the center of the bouquet so that it covers up a lot of area like that. Okay, that's pretty slick. All right, now let's use our variegated aspidistra. Now we can do some fun things with this, and we certainly could put it in like that. That would be great. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end of the stem, and then I'm going to take, this is the back side of the leaf, and I'm going to bend it around, and I'm going to stick it through that. Okay, so see how that went through? And now I have that pretty outside all the way around, and I'm going to stick that into my bouquet. Look at how nice that looks. Makes a little rounded area right there. That's really fun. And I've got another longer one over here. Again, I'm going to cut that backside, bring it up here, stick it through the leaf, and then place it into my foam. Almost looks like I've got a ribbon of that beautiful foliage down inside the bouquet, right? Okay, we're going to do it one more time. I'm going to curl it around, poke it through the back, and slip it into the arrangement. I love the way that those look down inside there, because it looks like I've got ribbons running through there that are made of completely of foliage. Okay. All right. Now we can use our ruscus. I could use my ruscus long, or I could use it short. Now, obviously, I'm making just a classic style of arrangement with this. I'm making a very traditional style of arrangement. I had a request the other day. Somebody said to me, will you show how to make just a traditional style of arrangement that could be used for a centerpiece or even for a church? And I think, you know, something like this could be used at a church get together or something like that. If you wanted it to be a little bit taller, you could make it for an altar and use a different style of vase. You've got lots of different opportunities. I love that the ruscus is different. And so what I did was I put two in the center and one off to the side over here, so that we're just letting it be simple and fun. And this is obviously basic flower arranging for you. If you want to do something more elaborate, or if you're, you know, the professional friends that I have make some incredible things. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, sometimes I share those, and you can see beautiful flower arrangements. This is simple techniques for us to do something relatively simple. Okay. We can do more elaborate things later if we need to. All right. So then I'm just going to fill in a couple areas. You know what I love? I love the fact that I'm going to use a stem of this leather leaf as one whole piece so that it comes out of the front like that. I like having leather leaf be part of the arrangement. I've got another piece back here on the back side. So then there's this one just sticking out over here like this. And then I could use my 3 pieces of lily grass. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold them together. I've got them all gathered up together in my hand. I'm going to cut them all as one stem, and then I'm going to put that one stem into the middle of the bouquet, even though there's 5 leaves that come out of it. So now I've got something that looks like that. Again, this could be an arrangement that you could use just by itself. You wouldn't even have to add flowers if you didn't want to because it's all finished and all done. But let's add some flowers to this. So again, as we create a bouquet, we sometimes have a structure that we've created. We've created like the bare bones or the skeleton of this arrangement with our beautiful foliage. And now we can add other detail pieces with our beautiful flowers. So I've got some back here. We're getting to the end of garden season, but there's some really fun things. We've got some sedum. And we used sedum in the vase arrangement. I love that. I think it's very pretty. We've got a hydrangea. It's lavender in coloration. We've got some beautiful zinnias that are magenta or fuchsia. Those are gorgeous. And then we've got an assortment of dahlias. I've got some, oh, one more little zinnia there. I've got some that are very very fuchsia, dark burgundy color. I've got one that's almost a red coloration, has a little bit of a violet background to it. I've got one that's lavender for sure, and then this one has speckles in it. So those are beautiful. We're going to use all of these in this bouquet. Obviously, we have a focal area that's right down inside here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slip that piece of pittosporum out, and I'm going to use it on the back side over here. And again, notice I took it out of one spot, put it into a different hole over here. We're going to take our beautiful hydrangea and we're going to nestle that down between those two variegated ribbons and over the top of that pretty foliage. Okay? Really simple for us to do that. We've cut it short. I have people that ask me all the time about, I didn't realize you could use hydrangeas in foam. You can when you have good quality hydrangeas. Okay? If you have poor hydrangeas, and also it's important that you're using good quality flower foam. If you're not using good quality flower foam and you're using sub-quality hydrangeas, you are going to have problems. But if you do things right, you won't. So really easy. Then I'm going to come in with this. Look at this little dahlia, how it kind of sits off to the side like that, or it could sit off to the side like this. I'm going to slip it into that spot right over here because I do feel like it's kind of pretty hanging over there. I'm going to peel off one of these leaves right here because I don't like the way he looks, but look at that. So now it's coming up over here and it's kind of hanging down that direction. I think that's pretty fun. Now, we've got this beautiful other dahlia. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that in and I'm going to put that in the center of the bouquet. The other thing about this too is it's got a couple of little buds on it. Here's the secret. Because I used Chrysal Professional 3 for my flowers, that's going to allow these buds to open up over the next couple of days. And that's why it's important that I keep adding water down inside here too. Now look at, you'll notice that you're kind of seeing the back side of this, but when I flip it to the other side, you see the front a little bit more. Because my hydrangea's on this side facing you, I have this one facing on this side. So that way we can put it in the middle of the table and we could have people sit all the way around and it could be really fun for everyone to look at. Now you notice that I'm kind of starting with my bigger flowers and I'm bringing my bigger flowers in. So here we can use some of our sedum and tuck it right down in there. Very similar to the way that we tucked our hydrangea down in on this side. Okay. So there you go. Now, again, remember, as you're working with this and you're doing this, if you want to change your mind and move something to a different place, you can. But I also want you to, when you're arranging this, to take the time and enjoy the process. Because it's so important that you're enjoying and taking in that the flower arranging is causing us to calm down. It's releasing those endorphins inside us that are going to allow us to be calmer, feel less depressed, more zen-like, happier thoughts. All of those come when we're arranging these beautiful flowers. And think about the fact that we may have worked on raising these all year long, and now we're going to cut off a few of those before it freezes, because it's going to freeze here tonight. So we wanted to get these beautiful dahlias cut before they would be frosted. And so then we can put them into an arrangement like this. And in our arrangement, they're going to be able to sit on our table and we're going to be able to enjoy them the same way that we could enjoy them in the garden. And look at little bud there. That little bud's going to open up. So look how pretty that is. Now, I'm kind of looking at the arrangement and determining where I'm going to put this last bigger dahlia. Now, I could put him here. That's awfully pretty. I could put him back here. That's pretty too. I think I'm going to go with back here because I still have that beautiful hydrangea over here, and we've got some magenta zinnias we can place around it. So we're going to go ahead and put him right in there. Now, this one also has a bud on it, and look at how that center's opened up. That's just beautiful. I'm going to pull these leaves off the bottom because what that's going to do is allow me to stick it into the foam a little bit deeper. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right there with it. And look at how it's just nestled down in there. How pretty that is right back there on that side. Now, one of those zinnias that I have, I think you'll agree with me, needs to go right here. Okay. And then we're going to come over here on the other side. And we're going to add these other zinnias around our hydrangea. So I cut it, and I'm going to remove those leaves because those leaves might prevent it from going down deep into the flower foam. And I don't want them to drag my foam down inside there. The other thing I love about the flower foam, I know you've seen other arrangements that I've made that have had a lot of different flowers in them, and I've used a large quantity of flowers. And when we have fewer flowers, it's better for us to use foam. Because when we have fewer flowers, we can strategically place those flowers exactly where we want them so that it doesn't use them up or crowd them all together. I mean, sometimes, if you have a big vase and you have a few flowers, it's not going to look as good as if you would use foam, and then you could use and place them strategically into that foam. So there's all sorts of different ways to arrange different flowers. I love that one. I want that one to be a little bit shorter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here. I'm going to cut that stem a little bit shorter. And I want it to ride over there just a little bit more. There we go. That's better. So see our pretty little arrangement? It was really easy. And it was easy because we could make those strategic placements with our flower foam. We soaked our flower foam in flower nutrient water that included our Chrysal Professional 3. Then we placed it down into our container. Our basket had a liner, and we left plenty of room inside there for water so that we could have water inside there. So we can add water every day too. Now would be the perfect time that I would come in and add my flower nutrient water around that block of foam. And I would check it every day to make sure it's not running out of water. Then we beveled the edge of the foam and we placed our foliage in place. Our foliage helped us create a skeleton for our arrangement, and then we added our larger flowers to fill in the arrangement. It's almost like a form of painting for us. But isn't it fun? Now we've got a great little basket that we could set on the table. So we've showed you the different things that you can do using these green bouquets, and I think it's really, really essential for us to think about these as maybe a building block of flower design for us is to have a green bouquet that looks like that. We've got our green bouquet, and it can create a beautiful basket like this, or it can create a beautiful vase arrangement like this. We've got lots of different things here, so lots of different opportunities with these guys. Isn't that fun? So just a fast way for us to use the green bouquet from Jay's Bouquets and our friends at Fern Trust. So I hope you had a good time. Until next time, keep having fun with flowers.